A long time ago, people wanted a way to count years. BCE means before Common Era and counts the years backward before year 1. CE means Common Era and counts the years forward after year 1. Now, let's travel through time to see how humans lived. Welcome, young explorer. We are going back to prehistory, from about 2.5 million years ago to 3000 BCE. Let's see how the very first humans lived, what they ate, and what amazing things they learned. Welcome, young explorer. Get ready for an amazing journey far back in time. We will meet the very first humans and discover how they lived. Prehistory is a time long ago before people wrote books or kept records. It was when humans learned to survive without writing down their stories. It is called prehistory because writing did not exist yet. People could not write letters or stories. Instead, they left behind clues like tools, bones, and cave paintings that tell us how they lived. Archaeologists are like detectives. They study old tools, bones, and cave art to learn about prehistoric people. These discoveries show us what life was like thousands of years ago. Prehistoric people were nomadic, which means they moved from place to place looking for food. They followed animals to hunt and gathered plants along the way. Caves were safe homes for prehistoric families. They kept people warm and protected from wild animals. Inside, people made fires and painted pictures on the walls. When caves were not nearby, people built huts. They used branches, animal skins, and leaves to create small shelters. These huts kept families safe for a short time. At the end of prehistory, people learned to plant seeds and grow food. Farming meant they could stay in one place. They built small villages and lived there for many years. Prehistoric people loved to tell stories with art. They crushed rocks and plants to make colors. Then they painted animals, hunts, and family life on cave walls. Hunting was very important. People used stone spears and traps to catch deer, bison, and even mammoths. Hunting gave them food, clothing, and tools. Not all food came from hunting. People also gathered berries, nuts, and roots. Gathering was safer and gave families healthy meals. Prehistoric people were clever. They shaped stones into sharp tools to cut meat, build shelters, and make clothes. These were some of the first inventions in history. One of the greatest discoveries was fire. Fire gave warmth, light, and protection. It also helped cook food, making meals tastier and safer to eat. Children in prehistoric times helped their families. They gathered food, carried water, and learned hunting skills. They also played games with sticks and stones. Prehistoric people started as wanderers moving for food. Over time, they discovered farming, built villages, and created tools and art. This was the beginning of civilization. Welcome to ancient Egypt, one of the most amazing civilizations in history. It lasted from about 3100 BCE to 30 BCE. People built giant pyramids, worshipped powerful gods, and created a world full of art and stories. The Nile River was the heart of ancient Egypt. It gave people water to drink, rich soil to grow crops, and boats to travel. Without the Nile, there would be no ancient Egypt. Pharaohs were the rulers of Egypt. People believed they were like gods on earth. Famous pharaohs include Cleopatra and King Tutankhamun. They wore crowns, gave orders, and built temples and tombs. Egyptians believed in life after death. They made mummies to keep bodies safe for the journey. Bodies were wrapped in cloth and placed in decorated coffins called sarcophagi. The pyramids were giant tombs for pharaohs. They were made of huge stone blocks stacked carefully. Inside were treasures, tunnels, and secret rooms to protect the pharaoh's afterlife. Egyptians used hieroglyphs, a special writing system made of pictures. They carved them on walls, tombs, and papyrus scrolls to tell stories about gods, kings, and daily life. Egyptians believed in many gods. Ra was the sun god. Anubis was the god of the dead, and Isis was the goddess of magic. Each god had a special job and was often drawn with animal heads. Most Egyptians were farmers, bakers, and workers. They grew wheat, baked bread, made pottery, and took care of animals. Children played games, helped with chores, and learned skills from their parents. Egyptians wore light clothes made of linen to stay cool. They loved colorful jewelry, made of gold and beads. Both men and women wore necklaces, bracelets, and rings. Egyptians ate bread, fish, fruits, and vegetables. Dates and figs were sweet treats. They also drank a kind of beer made from barley. Ancient Egypt was full of pyramids, pharaohs, mummies, gods, and art. People worked hard, created amazing buildings, and left behind stories that we still study today. Now we are traveling to the Middle Ages, from 500 CE to 1492 CE. It was a time of castles, knights, kings, and peasants. Let's explore this exciting era. In the Middle Ages, people were divided into 3 groups. There were royalty, nobles, and peasants. Each group had different jobs and ways of life. Royalty included kings, queens, princes, and princesses. They ruled the land, made decisions, and lived in castles. Princes and princesses learned to read and write. Nobles were the second group. They owned land and castles. They were close friends of the royalty and had many workers. Peasants were the largest group. They farmed the land, baked bread, and cared for animals. They worked hard to provide food for everyone. Castles were huge stone buildings with towers and walls. They were strong and protected people inside from enemies. The main hall was the heart of the castle. Kings, queens, and nobles met there for feasts, parties, and important talks. Some castles had moats, which were wide ditches filled with water. A drawbridge could be lowered to let people cross safely. Most people lived in small villages. They grew crops, cared for animals, and built simple homes. Villages were full of hard work and community life. Markets were busy places where people traded goods. They sold food, jewelry, clothes, and even swords. Knights were brave warriors who protected the land and royalty. They trained for years to learn how to ride horses and fight in battles. Knights also joined tournaments to show their strength. They fought with lances and swords while crowds cheered. People ate bread, cheese, vegetables, and sometimes meat. Rich nobles enjoyed feasts with lots of food, while peasants ate simple meals. Clothes showed who you were. Nobles wore colorful silk and velvet. Peasants wore simple wool clothes for work. The Middle Ages were full of castles, kings, peasants, and knights. Life was very different depending on where you lived, but everyone played an important role. Now we are entering modern times, from 1500 CE to today. This is the part of history closest to us. It is full of discoveries, inventions, and big changes that shape the world we live in today. Modern times began with explorers sailing across oceans. They discovered new lands, traded goods, and met people from different parts of the world. This made the world feel more connected. Next came the Industrial Revolution. This was when machines and factories started to change how people lived and worked. Cities grew, trains carried people far, and inventions made life faster. Modern times also brought amazing inventions. The telephone, cars, airplanes, and computers changed how people talked, traveled, and worked. These inventions make our lives easier and more fun. Today, people live in cities and towns all over the world. We go to school, play games, use technology, and travel to many places. Life is very different from the past, but people still work, learn, and have fun every day. We have traveled from prehistory to modern times. We saw how people learned to survive, build, explore, and invent. Every time in history tells a story of human courage and creativity. Now it is your turn to write the future.